There is nothing as powerful as a changed mind. You can change your hair, your clothing, your address, your spouse, your church, your residence. But if you don't change your mind, the same experience will perpetuate itself over and over again, because everything outwardly changed, but nothing inwardly changed.
You've got to ask yourself, what do I want out of life? What do you want out of life? What do you want out of a job? What do you want out of a career? What do you want out of a relationship? What do you want? What gives you your life? How will you know when you got it? What will make you happy? You need to know. You need to start asking yourself some questions. What do I really, really, truly want?
If you have a specific skill set or talent that just immediately propels you to the top, yeah, you want to follow that. When you find something you're good at, go for it. And I also always say it's not about passion. Everybody's got passion for something, right? Don't follow your passions, follow your efforts. Because people say, you know, I was passionate to play baseball. I was passionate to play basketball. Doesn't mean all of a sudden I was going to be good enough. But I found myself being really curious about business, being really curious about technology. And that curiosity is really what drove me. And I think, particularly if you're young today, curiosity is great. Always learning and trying to find new things and being curious about new things, because that's what leads you to that path. Trying to figure out in advance, that's hard because you don't know what you don't know.
You envisioned something, you got clear about it, and then you started thinking about all the reasons why you wanted it. You got excited about it. Said, this is what's next for me now. I want this. You may have dreamed about it, thought about it, talked about it. But when you focus on something continuously, something magical happens. You get insights, don't you? You overhear a conversation, and you hear something you wouldn't have heard if you didn't have that outcome or goal that you wanted so badly.
For you. But you can control how it will be used.
Inspiring habit.
Which means that even though time is unstoppable, it is controllable. And what you do with it determines who you become. Can you honestly say to yourself that you used time effectively?
One of the things that we know about life is that it is always changing. Sometimes you're up, sometimes you're down. Sometimes you're happy, and sometimes you're sad. Now that's that thing called life. And when we begin to understand and know that, accepting that reality, that we will never ever have things just on an even keel all the time, that you're going to have some ups and you're going to have some downs. But during those down moments, that's where the growth takes place. That's where the work is. Anybody can feel good when they have their health, their bills are paid, they have happy relationships, the children are acting normal, business is successful. Anybody could be positive then. Anybody can have faith under those kinds of circumstances. See, but the real challenge of growth, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, comes when you get knocked down. Adversity introduces a man to himself or a woman. How you handle it, that's where the growth takes place.
I think about time a lot because time is life. And every time a year passes, you are basically measuring time. A year is the passing of time in our cultures. A new year is an opportunity to refine your purpose. Secondly, a new year is an opportunity to redefine your life's vision, to see if you are still on course or if you need to adjust. Thirdly, a new year is an opportunity to reestablish worthwhile goals. And I use the term worthwhile because some of our goals may not be worth pursuing anymore. And fourthly, a new year is an opportunity for you to bury the past and move into a new future. In other words, time is a blessing or a curse depending on how you manage it. Time is life. What have you become is totally dependent on how you use time.
I was going through a major challenge in my life that was wearing me out, that was using me. And one of my students told me in a class that I was teaching, Lessons in Truth, she said, Les, until you handle it with grace, it will stay in your face. And it stayed there a long time. Are you going through it or are you growing through it? Because it's not going to leave you until you grow through it. Are you learning anything or are you doing it over and over and over again? Insanity is doing the same thing in the same way, expecting a different outcome.
I thank God for time. Time is a relief. Time is good news. Look at Genesis 1:14. It tells you when God created time. It says, and God said, let there be lights in the expanse of the sky to separate the day from the night, and let them serve as signs to mark what? Seasons and days and years. What's the purpose for time? First of all, time was given to us to take us out of eternity. Secondly, time was given us to protect us from forever. If you had a pain in your back in eternity, it would be an eternal pain. Thank God for time. Time has a beginning and an end. Time was given to us to measure the purpose of our life, why we live. I thank God for time. But time has some limitations. God says, look, when I gave you birth, I hired you to do something, and I got a certain period for you to do it in, and you can't exceed that. Time is determined. I like this one, Psalm 90 verse 12, read. So teach us to number our days, that we may apply our hearts unto wisdom. In other words, let me know how long and how much I have to do so I can use my days effectively. Ecclesiastes 8 verse 6, for there is a proper time and a procedure for every matter under heaven. In other words, there's a proper way and time to do everything. Whatever you've been through, you can now say it was last year. Tell your neighbor, I was broke last year.
The next thing that is important is that expect things to get better for you, because they are. See, life is cyclic. You're not, whatever experience you're having right now, it has not come to stay. It has come to pass. Not to stay, just to pass. It's just going through. The biggest challenge is to know what's happening. This is a part of this thing we call life. This too shall pass. And maintaining perspective, putting it in perspective. How do we get stuck? A friend of mine working on a job, loved the company very much, expected to retire there. And one day they called him in the office, asked him for his badge and identification, told him he was fired and he had to leave then. He was devastated. And if you came anywhere near him, he will tell you his story, as we all have stories. Even when he got a job, he went on the job telling anybody who would listen how they fired him unjustly. And he always ended with, it wasn't fair. Life isn't fair. It's not fair that birds eat worms, and they do.
In other words, whatever happened in the past separates you from the future. That's how good time is. I used to be sick. That was yesterday. Health is on the way. Time separates your past from your present and your future, because time protects us from living in a permanent condition. You won't be a divorcee all your life. Time will prove that. You won't hurt with grief all your life. You won't be sitting around because that man didn't marry you.
Where there's a will, there's a way.
There's another man on the way with a fantastic life, with plenty more money than the one you was trying to get. Time will sort this out.
You know, when you go into a service station to get gas, you don't go in there and just start pumping. When you push the lever up, it clears the previous bill. By the same token, if you want to begin to move, you've got to clear your mind of all the unnecessary luggage and baggage that's weighing us down. All of us have experienced some tragedy, and if we haven't, we will. Sometimes your life will be in a slump, and you can either let it destroy your life or you can build upon it. I'm not going to let this destroy. You can permit it to let it hold you down, or you can decide, I'm not going to let that happen to me. I'm bigger than this. I don't care how good you are. I don't care how talented you are. I don't care how much you work on yourself. There are some times when things aren't going to go right. There are times when anything that can happen will happen. Make a declaration to yourself. Declare all out war that you're going to get out of this rut. I suggest to you that if you are facing a challenge, don't stop. Stay busy. Work your plan. Continue to do those things that you know that work for you after you have evaluated yourself in the situation. Sometimes you have to back up and go within and pray and meditate and recharge your batteries. Go away, clear your head, and then come back and look at it from a different vantage point.
Nothing is permanent in time. Make a note of this one, please, and this is very important. Time is the only commodity on earth given equally to every human being. We don't possess the same amount of money. We possess the same amount of time. So the key to life is what you become in life is determined by how you use the time you have, and that's why we use terms like spending time. Time is a currency. Every human has the same amount every day, and time, like currency, must be spent. Time is used to buy life.